Bookmark. Go back. Elena, your graduation ceremony is in 5 days. Vincent and I have a surprise prepared for you. A familiar voice echoed in my ears. I suddenly opened my eyes and was met with the young and handsome face of my brother, Ethan Lynn, and his legs were completely fine. I had succeeded. I lunged forward and threw my arms around him, my voice trembling uncontrollably. Ethan, it worked. He froze for a second before hurriedly patting my back in confusion. You were fine just a moment ago. What's wrong? Why are you clinging to your brother like a little girl again? I turned my head abruptly and saw Vincent J.O. standing in front of me, smiling with that familiar gentleness and affection. The future Vincent was calm and composed, but the Vincent now radiated a soft, kind senior aura I hadn't seen in so long. I slowly released Ethan, took a deep breath, and forced myself to calm down. I had been momentarily overwhelmed in my previous life. During the 5th year of my marriage to Vincent, both he and Ethan were targeted by business rivals and got into a serious car accident. In a life-or-death moment, Ethan had sacrificed himself to protect his brother-in-law. As a result, his legs were completely paralyzed, and he spent the rest of his life in a wheelchair. Yet he brushed it off lightly, saying it was just a small injury, that my happiness was what mattered most. He couldn't let me live the rest of my life in the pain of losing my husband. But what he never knew was the storms I endured afterward were all thanks to that good husband of mine. Vincent, silly girl. Vincent chuckled softly, and instinctively reached out to pat my head as he always used to. I tilted slightly, avoiding his hand that hung midair. The smile on his face froze, and a flicker of hurt and confusion passed through his eyes, but I couldn't control my instinctive reaction. Ethan noticed something was off. He glanced at me, then at Vincent, his brows faintly furrowed. After all, the me from before was like a sunflower orbiting Vincent, my eyes never leaving him. How could I have ever resisted his closeness? He used to tease me, saying that ever since I got a new brother in Vincent, I had forgotten about my real one. But now every time I saw that face, I remembered the photo the private investigator had sent me. Vincent, Shun, Jenny and their child all smiling so happily. No wonder back when we got married, I had cautiously brought up not having kids, and he had surprisingly agreed immediately. I thought it was because he loved me and respected me. I never imagined he already had a child with the woman he truly loved. And then there was that drunken night when he told his friends from the bottom of his heart, I've always seen Elena as a little sister. Our marriage is purely for business. That so-called beneficial union, one that I had begged my parents to agree to just so his family could latch on to ours. At the time, his company wasn't even close to being on the same level as mine. Now, I didn't want to play along anymore. I didn't want him to keep pretending to sacrifice himself for me, just to fulfill some ridiculous fantasy of being noble, while protecting his so-called true love. I forced down the nausea and bitterness that surged within me and tried my best to make my expression appear the same as always. Really, what kind of surprise? Even I was surprised by how calm my voice sounded. Vincent quickly regained his usual demeanor and smiled mysteriously. If I tell you now, it won't be a surprise later, but I promise you'll love it. I nodded obediently, but my heart had already turned cold. In my past life, that graduation ceremony had indeed been a surprise. Vincent had thrown me a romantic, dreamy party, and on that day his ambiguous actions made it impossible for me to suppress my feelings any longer. I gathered my courage and gave him a heartfelt letter filled with all my teenage thoughts. He accepted it but didn't give me an answer. Instead, he pinched my cheek and said gently, But Elena, you're still young. You can't tell the difference between love and dependence. The ridiculous thing was, even as he said that, he continued treating me with a closeness that clearly crossed the line of friendship. He never gave me a clear answer and never set any boundaries. His gentleness was like a tightly woven net, binding me, trapping me, making me fall deeper and deeper, unable to break free. Vincent seemed like he wanted to say something else, but Ethan abruptly cut him off. Vincent, you should go for now. Elena and I need to talk about a family matter. Vincent froze, gave me one last reluctant glance, then finally turned and left. I looked at my brother, surprised. Ever since my heart had turned cold, his attitude toward Vincent had always been subtle and distant. But never had he directly interrupted a moment between us like he just did. Ethan, what's wrong? I asked. Elena, do you like Vincent? He asked cautiously after a brief pause. Do you want to be with him? I was stunned. In my previous life, Ethan had never asked me that because the answer was obvious to everyone. I had loved Vincent so deeply, like a moth drawn to a flame, completely without regard for myself. But this time, I shook my head without hesitation. No, he's your friend, so I've always seen him as just an older brother. My voice was firm without a hint of doubt. Ethan visibly relaxed, letting out a relieved breath with a smile. Why are you suddenly asking me this? I couldn't help but press further. He hesitated, then pulled out his phone from his pocket and handed it to me. I took this photo yesterday, he said. On the screen was a picture of Vincent intimately kissing a woman. My pupils contracted. I recognized the woman instantly, Shinjeni. So they had already been together that early. I bit my lower lip hard, forcing down the overwhelming bitterness and hatred that surged up from deep within me. Vincent, if your heart already belonged to someone else, why did you come and mess with mine? Why did you use so-called love and responsibility to trap me by your side, making me endure endless pain? Still, my tears betrayed me and slid down my cheeks. Elena, don't cry. Ethan panicked the moment he saw my tears. He fumbled as he tried to wipe them away. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have shown you those photos. Seeing his regret, I shook my head, took a deep breath, and tried to calm my emotions. I don't blame you, Ethan, I said, lifting my head with a firm gaze. Thank you for helping me see his true face. My voice carried a trace of resolve. In 5 days, I'll prepare a surprise for Vincent, too, I added. Ethan, you have to help me. From age 15 to 35, 20 years of feelings. It's time to end it. The next day, I arrived at the dress boutique early, absent-mindedly browsing through gowns. Suddenly, a familiar voice broke through the air. Jenny, this light blue one suits you. It'll make your complexion look even fairer. I looked up and saw Vincent. He was standing beside Shinjeni, carefully picking out a gown for her. Jenny held on to his arm like a delicate little kitten. A second later, Vincent noticed me too, but his expression didn't change at all. Calm and composed, he led Jenny toward me and introduced her with ease. Elena, this is Jenny. She's a junior in my program, also graduating this year. Jenny, this is Elena Lynn. Jenny gave me a sweet smile and greeted me politely. Hi, Elena. Nice to meet you, I replied courteously, my eyes scanning over the two of them with calm indifference. In my past life, it was right here that I had run into them just like this. The sourness and sharp pain from that encounter had pierced straight through my heart. That night, Vincent came to find me, explaining gently that helping Jenny choose a dress was just a request from his mother. Their mothers were close friends, and he had been forced to take care of her. Such a clumsy excuse. Yet I believed it wholeheartedly. That same night, he had stayed by my side, helping me practice the dance I was to perform at the graduation ceremony. With every 5 steps, our breathing became more entwined. In one unintentional moment of closeness, our lips brushed, and that one kiss ignited all the love I had been holding back, shattering every illusion I'd ever believed in. The rose-colored filter was gone completely. Looking at the two people in front of me, everything suddenly became crystal clear. Around Shinjen's neck was a necklace identical to the one Vincent Jia was wearing, matching couple necklaces. I offered them a calm, polite smile, my tone neutral and distant. What a coincidence. You two are here picking out dresses too. Yes. Yes. Jenny's smile grew even sweeter as she leaned closer and playfully shook Vincent's arm. Vincent came with me. Well, take your time and enjoy browsing. I replied with a courteous nod, and turned to continue selecting my gown. Elena. Vincent suddenly called out to me, a trace of unease slipping into his voice. He let go of Jenny's hand and stepped toward me, sounding almost urgent. Elena, don't get the wrong idea. I'm just helping Jenny choose a dress because of my mom. I know. I cut him off, my tone steady and indifferent. She's your junior, and it's normal for you to come dress shopping together. My composed response clearly caught him off guard. He froze for a second, then instinctively reached for my wrist. How about this? He said quickly. Let me help you pick your dress too. Okay. I stepped back, avoiding his hand and putting distance between us. No need, Vincent. You should focus on helping Jenny. Besides, I already made plans with someone else. I gestured with my eyes toward Jenny, whose expression had turned noticeably sour. Upon seeing my glance, Jenny stomped her foot in frustration and stormed out of the boutique in anger. Vincent didn't even look in her direction, acting as if she didn't exist. You made plans? His brow furrowed, and there was a hint of displeasure in his voice. With who? If you're jealous, just admit it, I said calmly. There's no need to pretend you don't care. He narrowed his eyes. Elena Lynn, since when did you learn to play hard to get? Is that what this is now? Your little game of push and pull. I was stunned, not just by his arrogance, but by how entitled he sounded. His words were full of assumptions and so far from who I really was. I opened my mouth to respond, but a deep, composed male voice suddenly interjected. Miss Lynn hasn't lied, nor is she playing games, he said. She really did make plans with someone. I turned toward the voice and saw Quinn walking in, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, his posture straight and confident, his features striking and handsome. Relieved, I quickly walked over and wrapped my arm around him naturally. Quinn, you're here. He reached out and gently ruffled my hair, his voice warm and indulgent. Sorry, something came up at work and I got delayed. Hope you didn't wait too long. Then he handed me a small, beautifully wrapped cake box. I brought your favorite dessert to make up for it. As Vincent watched us, his expression darkened instantly. Elena, he asked, his tone sharp. Who is he? What's your relationship? Quinn is my arranged partner, I said coolly. We're spending some time today getting to know each other better. Vincent stared at me, eyes wide in disbelief. Arranged partner? That's not possible, he murmured. That's supposed to be me. His words struck like thunder in my ears, freezing me on the spot. How could he know that? Was this the side effect of time travel? Could it be that Vincent had come back to the past, too? Quinn's expression darkened. He took a step forward, shielding me behind him as he looked Vincent square in the eye. Is there a problem with the Lin family's decision, Mr. Xiao? His voice was low, firm, and full of commanding authority. The weight of Quinn's presence seemed to stifle Vincent. He turned to me, his voice pleading now. Elena, tell me this isn't real. You're joking, right? I looked at him, my heart caught in a whirlpool of emotions. Unconsciously, I leaned closer to Quinn for support. Vincent, I said softly. I've already made myself very clear. Quinn is my arranged fiancé. Our families have been close for generations. It was something the elders decided a long time ago. Quinn noticed my subtle shift and gently wrapped his arm around my shoulder, taking on a protective stance as he looked Vincent directly in the eye. Mr. Zhao, he said coldly, if you have no other business here, please leave. You're interrupting my date with Elena. Vincent's gaze darted between Quinn and me, his eyes burning with frustration. He clenched his teeth and growled. Quinn, don't get too full of yourself. Elena's heart belongs to me. She's only with you for the sake of family interests. How ironic. It was his own selfish motives he used now to accuse others. Quinn scoffed, amused. Is that so? And yet, the person Elena has chosen now is me. He turned toward me with a gentle smile, eyes filled with indulgence. Let's go, Elena. Ignore this lunatic. I nodded and let him take my hand as we walked away. Vincent tried to follow us, but Quinn's bodyguard stepped in and blocked his path. Only after we got into the car did my nerves finally begin to relax. I slumped back into the seat, exhaling a long, shaky breath. Thank you, Quinn. He turned his head toward me, his gaze steady and calm. No need to thank me. We should have spent more time together long ago, don't you think? His voice was soft but carried a quiet certainty that left no room for doubt. I felt a pang of guilt and lowered my eyes, fiddling with my fingers. In my previous life, I had been so blindly devoted to Vincent that I begged both families to cancel the engagement with Quinn. After that, I never saw him again. The next time I even heard his name was on the day I married Vincent. He had obtained a green card and moved abroad permanently. Facing Quinn again in this lifetime, I couldn't shake the guilt in my heart, and the time machine would only allow me to stay here for 5 more days. Once graduation ended, I'd be pulled back to my original timeline. The engagement with Quinn probably wouldn't go forward this time either. 20 years of love and pain didn't just disappear in a day. I couldn't rush into another relationship. Of course I won't force you, he said. I turned sharply to look at him. Quinn's gaze was lowered. Despite his usual calm and composed demeanor, there was a fragile vulnerability in his expression. I don't want this engagement to feel like a chain around your heart, he said. Something inside me trembled. It wasn't something I could fake. And for some reason, I suddenly wanted to cry. I had loved Vincent for 20 years, but it was in this moment I finally understood. Being loved could feel this warm. Gathering my courage, I placed my hand gently over Quinn's. His entire body stiffened. He looked at me in surprise. The tips of his ears flushed red. What I want to do now, I said softly, is have you come dress shopping with me. Will you? He blinked, then smiled with quiet relief. Of course. Anything you say. Quinn was incredibly patient. He spent the whole afternoon with me, helping me choose dresses, carrying my bags, offering suggestions, never once showing a hint of annoyance. After dinner, he even drove me home himself. Along the way, we talked about everything from childhood memories to our dreams for the future. There was nothing we couldn't talk about. I found, to my surprise, that Quinn and I were more compatible than I ever imagined. He felt like a gentle harbor, a safe place where I could let down all my defenses and simply be myself. That night, as I lay in bed getting ready to sleep, my phone suddenly buzzed. I picked it up and saw a friend request from an unfamiliar number. I hesitated for a moment before tapping accept. The moment it was approved, a photo appeared in my inbox. In the picture, a man and a woman were holding hands tightly, their fingers interlocked. On the woman's hand was a delicate diamond ring. The moment I saw the small red mole on the man's hand in the photo, I instantly recognized it. It was Vincent's hand. Right after that, another message came through. He loves me. He's only nice to you because of family obligations. You'll never get his love. It was from Jenny. I stared at the photo and the message on the screen, completely unfazed. Calmly I replied, "Oh, is that so?" Apparently, Jenny hadn't expected me to be so composed. After a while she responded again. "You don't believe me?" I began typing again. "Of course I believe you." "Then how about this?" she wrote. "At the graduation party in 3 days, if you help me give him a surprise, I'll willingly back off and let you two be together forever. I know he'll agree because he wants to be with Vincent even more than I do." In the days that followed, Vincent came to see me every day. It was like he had become a completely different person, caring about whether I was cold or hungry, constantly concerned, showering me with expensive gifts, even cooking meals for me himself. His enthusiasm mirrored the way I had once loved him in my past life. I didn't turn away his gestures. I accepted every gift he gave me, but I remained polite and distant, never giving him any emotional response. I knew he was only doing this out of guilt, or maybe because he wanted to win back his so-called arranged partner. But the things I had once longed for no longer held any meaning for me. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. After the graduation ceremony, Vincent stood at the school gates holding a massive bouquet of roses, waiting for me. Our classmates passed by, casting envious glances our way. "Wow," someone whispered. "Elena's boyfriend is so handsome and so romantic too." Another added, "She's so lucky." I didn't refuse him. I got into his sports car, and he drove me to the party hall my brother had booked in advance for me. The hall was brightly lit and filled with soft, elegant music, decorated entirely according to my preferences. The only difference was that tonight, Vincent was wearing a suit that perfectly matched my gown. In my previous life, he had never paid attention to such details. Halfway through the dance, the lights in the hall suddenly dimmed. A spotlight landed on me, illuminating me alone. Vincent stepped into the light, holding a microphone, his eyes full of emotion as he walked slowly toward me. Just as he reached me and was about to kneel on one knee, I reached out, grabbed his hand, and took the microphone from him. The entire room fell silent. Everyone stared at me in shock. Even Vincent froze, a mix of confusion and anticipation in his eyes. He probably thought I was about to confess to him in front of everyone. I cleared my throat and slowly spoke into the microphone. There's something I'd like to say to Vincent tonight. My voice was soft but echoed clearly through the hall. Vincent watched me, eyes filled with hope. Since I was 15, I continued, Vincent has always looked after me, even helping me get into this university. I'm truly grateful to him, and I've always seen him like an older brother. My words dropped like a bomb in the crowd. Everyone was stunned, unable to believe what they were hearing. Vincent's face went pale instantly. The words older brother stabbed into him like a blade. I didn't react to his expression. Instead, I raised my hand and pointed in a direction. Another spotlight lit up, revealing Shenzhen standing among the crowd. So I said, I personally chose the most suitable sister-in-law for him, Miss Shenzhen, who's not only in the same program as him but also a perfect match. Jenny clearly hadn't expected this turn of events. She was startled but unable to hide her glimmer of joy. She instinctively turned to look at Vincent, her eyes filled with anticipation. The room was dead silent. Guests turned their eyes between Vincent, Jenny, and me, the air thick with gossip and curiosity. Vincent's face had turned ashen. He stared at me, his lips trembling. Elena, what? What are you talking about? He had finally found his voice again. His voice cracked, hoarse and broken. We're not. I tilted my head slightly and gave an innocent smile. Aren't we the best siblings, Vincent? You've always been so good to me. Of course, I'd want you to find true happiness. I turned to Shenzhen, my smile growing softer. Jenny, look. Vincent cared so much about surprising you. He didn't even want to admit your relationship. But that's okay. Now everyone knows. You two make such a perfect couple. Truly a match made in heaven. Jenny seemed flattered by my words, but the smugness on her face quickly faded when she noticed Vincent's ugly expression. She stood there stiffly, forcing out a smile that looked more like she was on the verge of tears. Elena Lynn. Vincent suddenly raised his voice. A mix of anger and panic laced into his tone. What kind of game are you playing, Dane? The smile on my face faded slightly, but my voice remained calm. I'm just telling the truth. Don't you want to take responsibility for Jenny? That line hit like a blade, slicing cleanly between him and Shenzhen. Her face immediately turned pale, and the look she gave Vincent was full of hurt and uncertainty. Vincent looked like a man cornered at the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to retreat or jump. Just then, Quinn took a quiet step forward and gently wrapped his arm around my shoulders, guiding me out of the spotlight. His movements were natural, but carried a firm sense of protection that left no room for questioning. Mr. Xiao, Quinn said calmly, Elena has made her stance perfectly clear. As a friend, I believe we should respect her choice and offer our blessings. He paused, then swept his gaze across Vincent and Jenny. And of course, congratulations to Mr. Zhao and Miss Shen. May your love find its rightful ending. My brother Ethan also caught on quickly and stepped forward, placing himself between Vincent and me. Vincent, he said, Elena is right. We all know what's going on between you and Miss Shen. If you truly love each other, you should be honest about it. Don't keep dragging my sister into the middle of this mess. Ethan's words nailed the coffin shut on Vincent and Jenny's secret. The guests began whispering, and their eyes toward Vincent turned cold and disdainful. So he was two-timing all along. I thought he was so devoted to Elena, leeching off the Lin family while messing around with another woman. What a scumbag. Surrounded by murmurs of contempt, Vincent's face turned red, then pale, then green with humiliation. Elena Lin, you? He growled through gritted teeth, seemingly searching for something harsh to say. But I didn't care anymore. Apologies, everyone. I turned to the crowd and offered a graceful smile. It seems we've had a bit of an unexpected interlude. I hope it hasn't affected your enjoyment of the evening. Please let the graduation ball continue. With that, I didn't spare Vincent another glance. I took Quinn's arm and walked off toward the lounge area. Ethan followed close behind, shooting Vincent a warning glare not to come after me. Vincent stood frozen, watching my back fade into the distance, his gaze dull and unreadable. Shenzhen tugged at his sleeve timidly, but he shoved her off in irritation. In that moment, he became the biggest joke of the entire party. And me? I had never felt lighter. Elena, just now when you, Ethan started hesitantly once we reached the lounge. Quinn handed me a cup of warm water and asked softly, "Are you okay?" I took the cup from him and smiled. "I'm fine. Better than ever." And I meant it truly. Releasing years of pent-up frustration and grievances in such an unexpected way felt like finally shedding a 1,000-pound weight. The moment was cathartic, freeing. But Vincent, Ethan still looked uneasy. "He's not going to let this go easily." "I know," I replied, nodding calmly. My gaze remained steady. Quinn looked at me, his eyes deep and unwavering. "Is there anything you need me to do?" Quinn asked softly. I shook my head. "Thank you, Quinn. But this is between him and me. I want to handle it myself." He was silent for a moment, then nodded. "All right, but remember, I'll always be right behind you." My brother Ethan watched our interaction, and finally let out a quiet sigh. "Whatever you decide, I'll support you." In the second half of the party, Vincent did try to get close to me, just as I expected, but every time Ethan or Quinn subtly stepped in, blocking him without a fuss. He could only watch me from afar, glaring with eyes full of suppressed fury, as if he wanted to tear me apart with his gaze. Meanwhile, I laughed and chatted with Quinn throughout the evening, occasionally exchanging pleasantries with friends who came to toast. I didn't spare Vincent a single glance. After the party, Quinn insisted on driving me home. The car moved steadily through the quiet night, the interior bathed in silence. "Thank you for today," I said, breaking the silence first. "I told you," he replied gently. "You don't have to thank me for anything." He glanced over at me. The streetlights outside flickered across his sharply defined features. "But have you really thought this through? Vincent isn't someone who gives up easily." "I know," I replied, watching the night scenery blur past the window. My voice remained calm. "But I'm no longer the Elena Lynn who let him manipulate her." After a pause, I added, "Besides, I don't have much time left here." His grip on the steering wheel tightened slightly, and the car slowed down almost imperceptibly. "What do you mean?" I took a deep breath, deciding to tell him part of the truth. "Quinn, I came back from the future." Quinn slammed on the brakes. The car jerked to a stop by the side of the road. He turned toward me, stunned, disbelief written all over his face. "The future?" I nodded. Then, in a brief simplified version, I told him about my past life, my marriage to Vincent, his betrayal, Ethan's accident, and my research into building a time machine. I left out the part about Quinn moving abroad. He listened quietly, his face shifting from shock to anger, then to sorrow. When I finished, he was silent for a long time before he finally spoke, his voice slightly trembling. "So you came back to change everything?" "Yes," I said, meeting his eyes with resolve. "I can't let my brother get hurt again, and I can't let myself repeat the same mistake." He swallowed hard. "Then what about us? Our engagement?" I knew what he was really asking. I looked at him sincerely. "Quinn, I'm truly grateful for everything you've done for me. Being with you has been comforting and easy, but after everything I've gone through, I just can't throw myself into a new relationship right now. And I only have 5 days here. Today was the 4th. After tomorrow, I don't even know what's going to happen." His eyes dimmed slightly, but he quickly composed himself and gave me a reassuring smile. "I understand, Elena. Like I said, I won't pressure you. Whatever you decide, I'll support you." His understanding and respect stirred a warmth in my chest, and a deeper sense of guilt. "Thank you, Quinn." "Don't be silly," he said with a soft laugh. He raised his hand as if he were going to ruffle my hair like before, but stopped midway. In the end, he gently rested his palm on the top of my head. The gesture was tender and restrained. "Get some rest," he said. The next morning, bright and early, Vincent showed up at my doorstep. He looked like a complete mess. Dark circles hung under his eyes. His face was unshaven, and his whole body reeked of alcohol. The elegant gentleman I once knew was completely gone. When I opened the door and saw him, his eyes lit up instantly. He took a step forward, reaching out to grab my hand. "Elena, please let me explain. Everything was a misunderstanding. Jenny and I stepped back, avoiding his touch. "Mr. Zhao, is there something you need?" That name, Mr. Zhao, seemed to sting him. His face darkened further. "Elena, how could you call me that?" "What?" What happened to us? I cut him off. Mister, I believe I made myself very clear at the party yesterday. You and Jenny are a perfect match. I wish you both happiness. As for me, I have my fiancé, Quinn. Quinn. Vincent's expression twisted in anger. He suddenly grabbed my shoulders, his grip shockingly strong. Tell me the truth. Are you doing this just because of him? You love me. You've loved me for years. His eyes burned with obsession and desperation. Convinced I was only doing this to get revenge, because I had fallen for someone else. The pain from his grip made me frown as I forcefully pushed him off. Vincent Joe, please show some respect. Respect? He let out a cold, bitter laugh, his eyes filled with mockery. Don't pretend, Elena. You think I don't know. You followed me around like a puppy since we were kids. You said you loved me. You said you'd marry no one but me. And now that you found someone better, Quinn, your new golden ticket, you want to kick me aside like trash. What do you take me for? His words were like venom-tipped blades, slicing open every fragile piece of my past love for him, laying it bare under the harsh daylight. Yes, in my past life, I really had been that foolish, that humble, that ridiculous. And the worst part was he knew it. He had known all along how much I loved him, yet still felt no guilt in taking everything I gave while flirting with his so-called true love, and keeping me close under the guise of a little sister. What right did he have now to question me? I looked him straight in the eyes, my voice like ice. You're right. I did like you. So what? Who hasn't made the mistake of loving a piece of trash when they were young? Trash? Vincent looked like he had just heard the most absurd thing in the world. His face turned ashen. Elena Lynn, say that again. I said. I enunciated every word with crystal clarity. You are a piece of trash. You took advantage of my love, enjoyed all the benefits that came from being close to my family, and still kept another woman by your side. You treated me like a backup plan, a stepping stone. A fool. I stepped forward slightly, each word sharper than the last. Ask yourself, Vincent Joe, do you really think you deserved my love? Every word hit him like a slap. For a moment, he was speechless, like he had finally realized I was no longer the girl who once worshipped him, who would do anything he said without question. It's not like that, he murmured, scrambling for something to say. Elena, I admit I was wrong, but what I had with Jenny, it's not the same. Not the same. I scoffed. One was your so-called true love, and the other was the convenient fiancé who could offer family benefits. How clever of you to try and have both. No, he snapped, panicked. Elena, I do have feelings for you. I finished for him. I always saw you as a little sister. That phrase was now a dagger I'd heard too many times before. Enough, Vincent J.O. Save your disgusting excuses. The word sister makes me sick now. I looked at him one last time, my voice calm but unshakably firm. Let me make this clear. What we had is over. From this day forward, you are you and I am me. We go our separate ways. We owe each other nothing. I didn't look at him again. I turned and reached for the door, ready to close it. Elena Lynn. Vincent suddenly lunged forward, slamming his weight against the door, eyes bloodshot and wild with desperation. I won't let you. I won't let you leave me. You're mine. You can only be mine. His strength was overwhelming. I couldn't push him back at all. Just then, a strong arm reached from the side and shoved Vincent off me with force. It was Quinn. I didn't even know when he had arrived, but now he stood in front of me, shielding me with a cold, protective stance. Mr. Shao, Quinn said, his voice like ice. Leave now or I won't be so polite next time. Vincent stumbled back a few steps, clearly shocked. But instead of retreating, he glared at Quinn with even more madness in his eyes. You again, Quinn. You shameless coward sneaking in when things fall apart. He threw a punch toward Quinn, but Quinn's eyes narrowed. He dodged easily, stepped aside, and with a swift, precise move, twisted Vincent's arms behind his back and pinned him to the ground. Ah! Vincent cried out in pain, struggling. Let me go, Quinn. Let me go. Quinn ignored him and tightened his hold. Vincent J.O., he said, towering over him with contempt in his eyes. If you ever dare bother Elena again, next time it won't be this simple. With that, he tossed Vincent aside like he was nothing more than trash. Vincent fell to the floor in a pathetic heap. He looked up at me with pleading eyes. Elena. But looking at him in that state, I felt no pity, only disgust. You brought this on yourself, Vincent J.O. I slammed the door shut behind me, leaving all of his ugliness and desperation outside. I could still hear his furious shouting and fists pounding on the door, but it didn't last long. Soon silence returned. I leaned against the door, letting out a long breath of relief. It's over. He won't bother you again, Quinn said as he came to my side and gently patted my shoulder. I looked up at him and forced a small smile. Thank you, Quinn. He stared at my pale face, his brows slightly furrowed. You don't look well. Are you feeling sick? I shook my head and was about to say I was fine when a sudden wave of dizziness hit me. The world around me began to blur and twist. My body felt light, as if it were about to float away. I knew my time was up, Quinn. I grabbed his arm, using the last of my strength. I'm going. I have to go now. Go. Go where? He caught me as I stumbled, his voice filled with panic. Back. Back. My consciousness began to slip. My voice faded into a whisper. Remember what I told you? Take care of my brother. In those final moments, the last thing I saw was Quinn's panicked, helpless expression and the raw pain in his eyes that he could no longer hide. Then everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, the scent of disinfectant filled the air. I knew it instantly. It was the hospital. Sunlight poured through the window, warm and gentle, bringing with it a strange sense of peace, as if everything had settled. I slowly opened my eyes. The first thing I saw was my brother's back. He was standing by the window, talking on the phone, brows slightly furrowed, but his posture steady. There was nothing unusual about him. No wheelchair, no limp. Ethan. My voice came out hoarse, still dazed from waking up. He immediately ended the call and rushed to my bedside. Reaching out, he touched my forehead and sighed in relief. You're awake. How do you feel? Are you hurting anywhere? You scared me to death, passing out so suddenly. His legs were fine. I shot upright, ignoring the weakness in my body, and immediately reached out to touch his legs, knees, ankles again and again, just to be sure. Elena, what are you doing? Ethan looked at me completely baffled, half laughing. You just woke up and you're already all over me. Did you wake up confused? Tears burst from my eyes, not from sadness, but from an indescribable surge of joy and release. I had succeeded. I had truly changed the past. My brother. He hadn't become disabled because of Vincent. I threw my arms around him and cried uncontrollably, releasing all the fear, the injustice, and the dread I had carried for years. It all poured out now in a flood of tears. Ethan was caught off guard by my sudden outburst and stood there awkwardly, trying his best to comfort me with a few clumsy pats on my back. Okay, it's all right now. The doctor said you just had a bout of low blood sugar and exhaustion. A few days of rest, and you'll be fine. You've been pushing yourself too hard on that time project lately. The time project. That's what I had named the time machine research. It seemed even in this timeline I was still pursuing it, though perhaps the motivation had changed. I cried for a long time before finally calming down. I wiped away my tears and looked at my brother, whole and unharmed. And for the first time, I felt truly grounded. How long was I asleep? I asked. A whole day and night. Ethan handed me a cup of warm water. Quinn stayed with you the entire night. I finally convinced him to go home and get some rest. He said to call him the moment you woke up. Quinn. A soft warmth touched my heart. It seemed that when I walked toward him at the graduation ceremony and accepted the engagement, it really had changed the course of our relationship. Oh right. Ethan suddenly remembered something, his lips curling with a bit of disdain. Guess who was running around acting all flustered when you passed out? My heart skipped. I could already guess. Vincent. Of course, Ethan snorted. After what happened at graduation, we completely cut ties with him. Heard his company ran into trouble afterward. His dad was scrambling to fix things, tried to reach out to our family for help, and got turned down flat by Dad. I guess now he's desperate, and came crawling back to you. He paused, watching me carefully. Elena, you don't still have feelings for him, do you? I immediately shook my head, firm and clear. Of course not. What are you thinking? I already told you. I only ever saw him as an older brother. Actually, not even that anymore. We have nothing to do with each other. My finality at the graduation ceremony wasn't just for show. It was a statement to myself. From that moment on, Vincent, Joe, and I were over for good. Ethan clearly relaxed, a smile breaking across his face. Good. That kind of ungrateful, two-faced guy doesn't deserve you anyway. Thank God you pulled away in time. If you'd really ended up with him. He didn't finish the sentence, but we both knew what he meant. Thank God my life never got bound to him again. Get some rest, Ethan said as he adjusted my blanket. Quinn and I will handle everything at the company. Don't worry about that guy either. I'll make sure security keeps him out if he dares show up. I nodded, heart at peace. After being discharged, I returned to my apartment, a bright, spacious penthouse with a stunning view. I had bought it years ago with money I earned from my own projects. In this timeline, without those 10 wasted years married to Vincent, I had poured everything into my passion, my work. The Time project hadn't yet reached full success, but I'd already made significant strides in related fields, and had even founded my own tech company. I had earned some recognition in the industry. My brother had taken over the family business, and under his leadership, it was thriving. As for Quinn and me, we had fulfilled our engagement from all those years ago and officially became fiancés. He had built his own business empire, and the two of us were more like equal partners than anything else. We respected each other, supported one another, and our relationship was steady and comfortable. Life was calm yet fulfilling. This was the kind of life I had always wanted. A few days later, Quinn came to pick me up after work. His car was parked downstairs, drawing attention from quite a few coworkers. Quinn was now one of the most sought-after figures in the business world. Yet he always carried himself with quiet humility. When he saw me coming out, he got out of the car and opened the door for me. "What brings you here today?" I asked with a smile as I got in. "I missed you." "And it was on the way," he replied as he started the car, his tone warm and relaxed. "What do you want for dinner?" "Anything's fine. You decide," I said, leaning back in the seat and letting myself relax. It was always like this with Quinn. Comfortable, easy. There were no wild sparks between us, but there was a steady stream of quiet understanding and warmth. Halfway through the drive, Quinn's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID, frowned slightly, and answered it on speaker mode. "Hello," he said. "Mr. Shao, I believe I made myself very clear last time. Please stop harassing Elena." His voice was calm but carried a clear warning. On the other end, Vincent's voice came through, shrill and hysterical. "Quinn, don't be so smug. Elena is mine. If it weren't for you getting in the way, she would have married me by now. Give her back to me." Was he completely insane? Quinn let out a cold laugh. "Mr. Shao, it seems your company isn't the only thing falling apart. Your brain must be too. Elena was never anyone's possession. She has her own mind, and right now she chooses me." No, Vincent shouted frantically. "She's loved me for years. She fell for me when she was 15. She did everything for me." "That's enough." I couldn't take it anymore and finally cut in. "Vincent Jiao, haven't you caused enough trouble?" The moment he heard my voice, he fell silent. Then his tone turned into a desperate plea. Elena, is that you? Please let me explain." "I have nothing left to hear from you," I interrupted coldly. "This is the last time I'll say it. We are done. Don't contact me again and stop bothering Quinn. If you keep this up, I won't hesitate to make your situation even worse." My tone was firm, resolute. There was no room for negotiation. On the other end of the line, there was nothing but heavy breathing. Quinn ended the call without another word, and the car fell into silence once again. "I'm sorry," Quinn said, turning to look at me, his expression apologetic. "I didn't expect him to." "It's not your fault," I said, meeting his gaze. "Seriously. Thank you, Quinn. Thank you for always being by my side. Thank you for showing me there's another way to live." After a moment, Quinn reached out and placed his hand gently over mine. His voice was low, steady, and warm. "Elena, I told you I'm not going anywhere." The warmth of his palm, the steadiness of his presence, It all filled me with a quiet strength. I looked at him, and somewhere deep inside, something began to soften. I didn't seek out what happened to Vincent Jiao, but bits and pieces still reached me over time. His company had eventually gone bankrupt and was liquidated. After the Jiao family collapsed, Shenzhen reportedly took a large sum of money and disappeared without a trace. As for Vincent himself, he vanished from our social circle entirely. Some said he ran off, buried in debt. Others said the blow had broken him mentally, and he'd been committed to a psychiatric facility. Whatever the truth, it no longer had anything to do with me. My life had already turned to a new chapter. The Time Project research was still ongoing. Although the road ahead remained long and uncertain, I was no longer as obsessed as I had once been. Instead, I saw it as a challenge, a journey into the unknown, one worth exploring. My company continued to thrive. We had made groundbreaking progress in both artificial intelligence and biotechnology. My brother managed the family business with remarkable order and efficiency, and had even begun expanding into international markets. As for Quinn and me, our relationship slowly deepened through the steady rhythm of daily life. He respected my career, supported my ambitions, and gave me the space and freedom I needed. He never interfered with my decisions, yet always showed up at just the right moments when I needed someone most. We watched the sun rise and set together. We traveled together, discussed work, and dreamed about the future together. I knew that the new chapter of my life had only just begun. And this time, I wouldn't miss the chance to hold on to someone truly worth cherishing.